because it's very important to understand that there's more to it. And then if we go on to something a little bit more profound, internalizing Torah. So a lot of people, and even rabbis and people that know great amounts of Torah, will say, will say, please, may it be, may it be. But, I thought about this the other day, that when the Avishter created this world, he said, let there be light, and there was light. He didn't say, may there be light, or I hope there'll be light. He said, let there be light. And he didn't have to say, Amen Ken Yehi Ratzon, because he was the one doing it. But he did give the power of words to the Jewish people that we create with our words. There are many pasuk in Mishlei that describe and discuss that. And so what the bottom line is on that is that if we say, okay, we don't command the Avishter, but I've run into situations where people will say, well, let's ask God. And I say to them, so is God serving you or are you serving him? What do you mean? I mean, you daven like, okay, Avishter Bezrat Hashem, this is within the context of Torah, so I'm going to do this, and Bezrat Hashem, may it be your will to help me do this. If it's not your will for me to do this, then stop me from doing it. Therefore, I'm not begging the Avishter to serve me, but I am taking up his authority that he has blessed me with and gone forth to establish Bezrat Hashem, his will in this world. Any comments, questions, or good sayings? Women, men, anybody who wants to say something. Okay. Is it clear so far what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. So we want to develop a personal love relationship with Hashem through his Torah. The more I read his Tanakh, his Torah, the more I love him. That because those words are not just a great story, a history of past, a prophet who would speak, that Hashem spoke through them, but even more so, those words have an energy and a power to make a mechaya life if internally absorbed. Here in this book it says internalizing the Torah. Rabbi Nachman wrote, a person can learn Torah day and night, but he won't internalize his Torah learning without firm belief in the Avishter's divine providence. And I'm always quoting to people, Ein od milvado, it came from the Avishter. So if you did something and it didn't come out right, and even if you step on somebody's toe, yeah, you should say, I'm sorry that I stepped on your toe, but even a leaf doesn't fall from a tree without the Avishter's permission, so we got to find out why, no? But I can't take the full credit or blame for anything, because everything is established by the Avishter, past, present, and future. So internalizing Torah has to do with the will. How do you combine the will with internalizing Torah? The will, God Hashem gave us a free will. We can choose good or evil if we know the difference. People who study the Torah know the difference. People who do not have like a feeling inside, but that's about it. So what happens is that the will can be used for the wrong things without them even realizing they're doing it. But a person who studies Torah can take that will that Hashem gave us, a free will, and climb mountains and knock down walls and you know what I'm saying hypothetically? It's the fact that that power, the power of the will, is life-changing. If we'll use it, we don't tap in to all the resources and powers that we have from the Eibishter. And we should, first of all, spend a little time in meditation daily on things like that, so that we can not only grow in the knowledge of the Torah, but also grow in the wisdom and the things that Hashem gave us to go out there and help this hurting world. We live in a world right now, Olam Sheker, a world where the people are destroying even their own governments and all kinds of craziness. And they need God more than ever, and they don't know who He is or where to find Him. And it says in the Torah that the Jewish people are a light to the nations. Are we shining our light? Are we doing whatever we can to do so? Well, a lot of people need to find some light for themselves before they can go help someone else. But I say, if you only know a couple of pusiks and someone else doesn't, you can give them over. You don't have to be a great Torah scholar. Find someone who knows less than you and give over some things. You'd be very surprised that A, it will help you retain your knowledge, and B, you will help the other person. So there is more than one reason to do that. Any comments, questions, or good stuff?
Rebbetzin?
Yes.
I have a comment. This is a prime. I wanted to mention that, my daughter is, I don't want to really make it really big. She's really in the sugar process. She's 21 years old.
Uh-huh.
And she asked me sometimes, she has a resume, and she asked me to make phone calls for her. She asked me to call a friend or a family friend or a parent's friend or maybe one of the buffer's friends, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that I asked, among other things about Midos and Chesed and about Parnasa and about school and whatever, but the other question I ask is regarding Hashkafa, whether or not the person sort of have an idea about Gamza Lutova. In other words, does he see that things are from the Eibishter? If something doesn't work out quite as smoothly or as optimally as they would have liked, are they kind of getting upset and off the wire and everything, or are they sort of like saying, okay, so Hashem has something else in mind, and they kind of like take it in stride, and then they're more in control of their the extreme reactions, but they're kind of like in the middle, and they're trusting that they have this great trust and good trust in Hashem. So I wanted to ask that question of the potential husband's friends, because they know this friend of theirs, and they say, is this the kind of husband I want for my daughter? Right?
Uh-huh.
So I wonder what you thought about that question about the Gamzul Adoma.
Gamzul Tova means Einod Milvado. But besides that, in all my, and I'm about to shuva, I'm not an FFB. And I wanted to tell you that one thing.
No, I'm not either. My daughter is, but I'm not either.
So the bottom line is, what I found is that through the knowledge of Tanakh and the love of Hashem, how do we end up loving Hashem? With this interaction. You cannot love someone you don't know. So how can we know Hashem? Well, nobody knows Him completely. But in the Tanakh it says that this makes Him happy, this made Him angry. What David HaMelech did, singing songs to Him in the middle of the night, well, he must have liked that a lot, because He made David HaMelech king over Israel forever. So there,
right.
we learn through the Tanakh, even if it's just a page a day, we learn Hashem's personality somewhat. And with that, when we daven, when we talk to the Eibishter, when we're willing to, there's a lot of times we could avoid a lot of bad things in our life just by watching our words. Because people don't realize that they bring because I was sharing the other day with someone, and I said, you know what? Instead of saying, well, I hope this doesn't happen and this and this and this, you should say, may this happen. May this goodness come upon me. And see the situation the way you would like it to be. And then you say, Bazrat Hashem. Not, I hope to stay away from all the bad. But may the good be what happens, Bezrat Hashem. Are you catching what I'm saying? And when you...
Yeah, it's very easy. It's kind of like visualizing the positive outcome rather than worrying about all the negative things that might or might not ever happen.
Exactly,
right?
And then you apply what the Rebbe said. What did he say? Think good and it will be good. So if you're thinking good, your words are going to be good, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to share with you, there's so much in this book, but we're going to have to take it little by little. But I wanted to share with you a few other things because my time is always short. First of all, that I started recording my part of the class and uploading it to my YouTube channel, which is Yiscah Levinson, but this says Yiscah Levinson Torah class. I'm going to see if I add 2021 to it. For those who missed the class or want to replay it or whatever, because I try to compact everything into a little bit of time. But I wanted to share that there is a spiritual logic and a regular everyday logic. And what is everyday logic has nothing to do with spiritual logic. And that is that if we sit and balance out things like what I just shared with you about straightening and aligning our words to think good and it will be good. Well, that goes back to what I've been teaching in the beginning of every class, discernment. Judging our thoughts before we allow our bodies to speak or to act. So what is that? That is, I control my mind doesn't control me. That's something you should write down and meditate on. Because most people, God forbid, if they would have a machloket or a fight with someone, it's because it came in the head and out the mouth